Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Growing Together episode. Today we'll be talking about motor and sensory development in infants and toddlers. We're going to look at what's typical, what might raise concerns, and also some practical strategies that you can use right away in your classrooms.
We're so glad you're here. This is going to be a great episode, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, I'm Ann Christopher. If you've been listening to our Growing Together series, you'll know that I'm an occupational therapist with Henrico County's Early Intervention Program. And with me is my colleague, Gracia Holtz, a speech-language pathologist with the same program. We work with families of little ones from birth to age 3, and we're excited to partner with you because you see these children in action every day.
That's right, Ann. Thank you for joining us today. We are so happy that we'll be able to talk to you today about playing and motor skills. I do have some quick housekeeping. This slide here has the QR code that will take you directly to the Early Intervention Program with information about referrals for you to share with families or just get a little bit of background about early intervention. We also have the link here for the certificates of completion, and I wanted to say that we really appreciate the feedback that we are getting from you all when you complete those forms. So make sure to write this link down. I'll also include it in today's show's notes. So here's what we'll cover today: typical versus atypical motor development, sensory development, and what that actually looks like in real life. Strategies for classroom support, real case studies, partnering with families, and how to refer to early intervention. So Ann is going to start us off with motor development.
When we talk about motor development, we are talking about how children learn to move and use their bodies. Gross motor skills are the big movements: rolling, crawling, and walking. The fine motor skills are smaller, more precise movements. These include grasping, stacking, scribbling, and using both hands together. These skills matter because they affect safety, routines, and independence. If a child isn't moving or using their hands well, then activities such as playtime or meal times can get much harder. From birth to 1 year, we look for a steady progression. First, a child may be lifting their head, then they may go into rolling, sitting, crawling, and eventually pulling to stand. Kids won't hit all these milestones on the same day, but we do want to see forward movement, not a standstill. Concerns in the first year include a baby who is very stiff or very floppy. Maybe they always have their head turned to one side, or if the baby is not sitting by about 8 months old. Also, having a limited variety of movement, like maybe mostly lying in one position without exploring or rolling or reaching. If you see several of these together, it's worth talking with the family about and possibly making a referral for early intervention.
Okay. So Ann, tell us a little bit about what typical motor development looks like.
From ages 1 to 3, children become little explorers, walking, running, climbing, and jumping. Fine motor skills grow also. They will be scribbling and stacking blocks and starting to use utensils. We want to continue to see steady progress and curiosity about moving and using their hands.
Okay, so what would be the signs that we would watch for during these years, Ann?
Concerns in this age group would include always leading with one side, maybe dragging one leg, persistent toe walking, frequent clumsiness, or avoiding fine motor tasks like crayons or Play-Doh. We want to really consider patterns over time and not just one clumsy day.
That's good to think about. So Ann, let's move into gross motor development and how we can support kids in the classroom.
Gracia, you know that we don't need special equipment to support gross motor development. Floor time is so important.
That's true.
Having an opportunity for rolling, crawling, and just moving freely. Set up safe climbing opportunities, low steps, soft mats, and sturdy furniture. For mealtime, it's really a good idea to make sure kids sit well supported and their feet are supported, also with their knees and hips bent.
As a feeding therapist, Anne, I know how important good posture is for feeding, so
right.
That's a great strategy.
Little changes can make movements safer and more successful.
Okay, so Anne, how might we help providers support fine motor skills in their classrooms?
Everyday materials work great for fine motor activities. Blocks, crayons, cups, dressing tasks, turning pages. These all build hand strength and coordination. Offer short bursts of fine motor play throughout the day instead of one long tabletop time.
Good idea. I am going to now sensory development. So sensory development really just speaks to how children take in and respond to information through their senses. So you can see some examples here. So we have a child who is exploring textures. We have a child mouthing objects. We have a child exploring their environment, and a baby seeking movement. So these are all normal ways that babies learn. The question is whether it helps them engage or gets in their way. So here's the three-step process. We have sensory input, then sensory processing, and finally the response. So input involves the information that comes in, the sights, the sounds, the movement, the touch. The brain then decides, is this safe? Is it interesting? Do I need to respond? And then that leads to the child's response or reaction. So they might calm down based on the information that they receive. They might cover their ears. Maybe they'll run or jump. Some kids are extra sensitive, so that means that they might be avoiding information. And some kids need a lot of input to even notice what's coming in.
Gracia, what are some of the things that we should look for about sensory processing?
So signs of sensory challenges would include things like strong reactions to touch or noise, children who avoid textures or movement, or the ones who are constantly crashing and spinning. You might also see trouble calming down with help or even with help, Anne, even with help or limited exploration. Children might stick to one toy or one corner. So again, just to hit this point again, it's really important to look and watch for patterns in behavior. So sensory regulation strategies, this is important. In the classroom, predictable routines and visual schedules help kids know what's coming. And Anne and I talked about this in our episode about navigating challenging transitions, which is it's an important one, it's a good one. So if you haven't watched it yet, feel free to go back. We do talk a lot about using visual schedules and predictable routines for this very reason. So we also want to use very slow rhythmic movement when we want children to calm. Don't use wild spinning, loud noise. One great idea is to create a cozy corner. So one thing that I tell parents or caregivers, the cozy corner is an option. It's not a punishment. It's not a place for timeout. It's just a place where a child can go and read and be quiet and calm down. It's always important to give choices whenever possible, and we want to reduce noise during transition time. Okay. So Anne, would you like to hear about how we can support our sensory seekers?
Absolutely. These kids are so difficult sometimes.
I know. So for sensory seekers, we want to plan these movement activities that they need and that they're yearning for. We don't want to keep staying stop. That's not helpful for anybody. So if we can plan ahead and provide them with the information that they're seeking in their environment, that's always very, very important. So you could try things like heavy work, such as pushing chairs, carrying book bins, doing animal walks, or even tunnel play is fun and helpful. We also want to make sure that we follow all of this movement with some calming input. That could be gentle pressure, like just think about a bear hug maybe, or some breathing games like, you might smell the flowers, blow out the candles, have some weighted plush toys for kids to squeeze and hold, and always remember to give them short, frequent breaks so that they can get the wiggles out while they're working during the day. So one thing that I really want to stress is that an environment that is sensory rich does not mean chaos. So using varied hands-on materials like sand or paint and Play-Doh is great, and you can keep it structured and supervised so that kids still feel safe. So Anne, we talk all the time about screen time here in early intervention. Tell us a little bit about why screens can be dysregulating.
Oh my gosh, gracious, screens are everywhere. But for our little ones, the fast visuals and the fast, loud, unpredictable sounds can really dysregulate them. Screens reduce exploration. The kids are just sitting and staring at the screen instead of doing learning things like moving, touching, and problem solving. Transitions afterward are harder because their brains are overstimulated. Sometimes we see a child come in for an assessment and they don't even seem to know how to play with the toys. This often looks like them throwing the toys or just banging toys. It's often that this child just gets a lot of screen time at home. In our program, we often recommend decreasing screen time. This isn't to shame or guilt anyone, but just to inform parents about a topic that they may not be aware of. There's lots of alternatives to screens. Instead of screen time, I like to offer books, bubbles, music and movement, water play, or sensory bins. These give input at a slower, more predictable pace. And don't forget about outdoor time, even in the winter. Outdoor time is necessary for young children. There's always some play activity that doesn't involve a screen. Coming up, we'll have a few case studies that we'll present.
Okay, so Anne, tell us a little bit about Mateo.
For this first one, we'll talk about Mateo. He isn't sitting yet, and he's 10 months old. It makes it harder for him to explore toys, use his hands, and interact socially. One motor delay can snowball into more delays and challenges with play and communication.
Okay. So how would we go about supporting a child like Mateo in the daycare environment or even at home?
When we went to the daycare for Mateo, we coached the teachers to build practice into their routines, including safe floor play, short sessions with giving light support, and two-handed play. We like to avoid long periods in bouncers, cribs, or swings. Those really don't allow a child to move and explore. We really prioritize floor play.
Okay. So what are some strategies that we might be thinking about for everyone in the class, not just a child like Mateo?
Strategies that work well for Mateo would be great for all the babies in the classroom. Tummy time on a wedge, side sitting with toys, rolling games, lap bouncing songs, and mirrors. They're all great, and they don't need special equipment. Toys that can be on the floor for babies are also great sensory exploration toys like rattles, soft toys, crinkly books, and teethers.
Those are great ideas. Okay, so we have another case study. Tell us about Alea, Anne.
Alea is a sensory seeker. She is always moving. Her attention span is short. She loves crashing and climbing, and she struggles to sit for meals or for fine motor tasks. She needs strong sensory input to stay regulated. So let's talk about that. When we worked with her in the classroom, we built frequent movement breaks into her day, heavy work jobs, and safe crashing zones. We added visual boundaries, short hands-on activities, deep pressure options, and predictable routines. Remember in episode 2 of the Growing Together series when we talked about visual boundaries? Some examples of this might be a carpet square for her to sit on during circle time, or a carpeted area for books with the bookshelf helping to define the space.
Great ideas.
More fun play for sensory seekers. Animal walks or yoga in the classroom, those are so good. Obstacle courses, pillow crash pads, and Play-Doh are all great options. Some outdoor options might be pushing a wagon, having a water table or sand pit to play in, climbing or jumping, riding a tricycle, or collecting twigs or rocks. Here's another case study. This one is about Noah. Noah avoids fine motor tasks like using crayons or Play-Doh. He prefers big body play, and he struggles with feeding and dressing. Avoiding fine motor activities now can lead to weak grip and coordination later. Noah is avoiding what is challenging for him. And to the adults in his life, this might look like disruptive behavior or uncooperative behavior. When we came into the classroom to see Noah, we like to embed fine motor tasks into play that he already enjoys. We use toys that invite squeezing and pinching. We like to give 2 simple choices so that he has some ability to make a choice on what he wants to do. We like to keep our tasks short and also model first, and we can gradually decrease the support that he needs.
Okay, so let's talk about some fun, fine motor play activities for the whole class to do.
Sure. Play-Doh, squishy toys, sticker play, stringing large beads. Mr. Potato Head is a great one. Pop beads and pegboards. These all build hand strength without feeling like work.
Oh my gosh, that's so true, Anne. We want everything to be an early intervention. We consider work, but it's disguised as fun and play, and that's what keeps kids motivated and interested.
That's true.
So Anne, let's use our behavior detective example to, we've talked about this in previous episodes, but let's use the behavior detective to really make sense of what's happening with Noah in the classroom. So I'd love for you to help us better understand, when might we see Noah struggling?
So if we remember, Noah has trouble with fine motor skills. So when you may pull out certain centers in the classroom, maybe the building blocks, that might be when you see him acting disruptive or avoiding the play.
Okay, so it's happening specifically during those times. How does he do outside on the playground or other places? So we're going to be thinking about the where does this happen?
He loves outdoor play. He loves the music and dancing. Any kind of gross motor skills he really enjoys. But when we try to work on these fine motor skills, that's where he seems to be struggling.
So what exactly happens when you pull these things out? How do you know that he's struggling?
So for Noah, especially when he tries to stack the blocks and build a tower, and he sees other children building these big towers, and when Noah goes to try to build a tower, he can't get very many blocks to stay together, and he gets very frustrated. He throws the blocks, he gets mad, and he storms off and leaves the center, having thrown and disrupted the other children.
That makes a lot of sense, because sometimes children, it's not about that they won't do something, it's that they can't do something.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's so important to think about. So, yes, definitely this mindset will shift how we respond to children when we can understand these patterns of behavior and thinking like a behavior detective.
Right. We think Noah's just being bad by throwing blocks. But really, if we think about it, that he's having a hard time with the blocks, then we can see that, wow, maybe it's not him being disruptive, but he's really just being frustrated because he's struggling with something.
So, Anne, would you say that he is having a hard time or he is giving you a hard time?
Noah, poor Noah, is having such a hard time.
Quick tips to remember. Movement, this is so important. Movement is not a reward. It is a need. Kids need to move in order to develop. So try not to, right, Anne? We need to build movement breaks into their day, getting outside, letting them run.
Yes.
Is so important. Another tip is that strength comes before skill. So if a child can't do the task, their body just might not be ready yet. So think of Noah. Was it Noah, Anne?
Yes.
So he just did not have the strength and the ability, and so that's what made it challenging for him. So we want to not be angry at the child. They're not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time, and so we need to address their strength before that skill would be mastered.
Children do the best they can, right?
They sure do. They absolutely do. They don't manipulate. They don't lie. They really are doing the best they can, and they want to do their best. So another tip would be that short and successful beats long and frustrating. So what we mean by this is do tiny little reps throughout the day for the bigger change. Don't sit down and do long, grueling, hands-on tasks that might be challenging for a child. Just try it in little pieces. When you see that they're getting tired of it, then take a break. So hands-on help. So that might be helping, let's go back to Noah, maybe helping Noah stack that tower with his friends. Let him sit on your lap and do some hand over hand building to give him that confidence. So hand over hand helps to build the brain's motor map. So what you're doing is you're teaching him how to do these movements so that when it comes time to the real thing, he's had a little bit of practice. And here we go, Anne, our favorite quote. They aren't giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. Be patient with children who are having a hard time and don't take their behaviors personally. I know that's easier said than done in your noisy, busy classrooms. But again, try to be that behavior detective. Consider what might be going on so that you can then help that child. So let's see. Common questions.
Yes.
So, all right. Let's start with number 1. The child can climb, but he won't sit still. What's going on? So this sounds like classic sensory seeker.
Sounds like Alea, right?
It does sound like Alea. Absolutely, absolutely. So Alea, her little nervous system needed movement in order for her to feel organized. So again, this is where the planning those movement activities before the seated task is really helpful. Again, think about those heavy work tasks, just giving opportunity for movement before asking them to calm and be organized and sit still. So very important. Number 2, okay. Is too much screen time really affecting behavior, and what should we do instead? So the answer to this is 100% yes. Screen time affects regulation, it affects attention, it affects sleep, it affects language and behavior, especially in infants and toddlers, and we cannot stress this enough. Screens overstimulate the brain and replace the hands-on movement those hands-on movement activities that kids actually need to learn self-control. So replacing the screen, gosh, anything, anything is better than the screen. But all of the activities that we talked about today and suggested would be wonderful. Play-Doh, books. As a speech pathologist, I'm going to always say books. If you need some quiet time in the class, read them a book. Do some interactive reading. So yes, we might even be doing an episode coming up about what happens with screen time. And
be great.
Yeah. So number 3 would be, how long should we try the strategies that we are recommending before suggesting early intervention? So we would suggest, trying these strategies over a couple of weeks before talking to the family about a consult with early intervention. So just remember that early support leads to stronger outcomes. So if you see a child who's really struggling and it's been, a few weeks and these patterns are pretty consistent, they're not just having a bad day, then definitely speak to the family. They can come to us for a no cost to them assessment, and we can help them better understand what might be going on. We've talked about this in previous slides, how to address these parent concerns or how to speak to the parents about your concerns. So always remember, it's important to choose the right time and setting. Don't try to have this conversation at drop-off, when you're busy, when they're trying to get to work. Just, be mindful of that. Use the neutral language, such as, I noticed that, we'll use Alea, I noticed that Alea has a hard time sitting still during some activities. Are you seeing this at home? Always start with the child's strength. So again, Alea she does such a great job with music and movement, and she's always leading the group in outdoor play activities. But I noticed that she's having a hard time sitting still during those quieter times. And then maybe share some of the strategies that you've tried, what works, what doesn't, and maybe ask them what strategies they're using at home. When you introduce early intervention, introduce it as a resource. Let them know that we are here should they want us to assess their child. But early intervention is not a label, right? We're not here to label that child or tell them what we think we know is going on. So here we are with our referrals. We have our flyer. Many of you have gotten this, and thank you for hanging these in your centers for families. Families can call our referral line to reach, they can call our referral line to schedule a developmental assessment. And again, this is at no cost to the family. Your role here is to notice, document, share, and connect families with the support that we have to offer.
Thanks everyone for all you do for the babies and the toddlers. Your observations and small adjustments can make a huge difference in how these children develop.
Remember, we're growing with you one episode at a time. Again, remember to check our show notes for all of the links to your certificates of completion. Again, we love the feedback that you're providing in those surveys and information on how to refer to Henrico County's early intervention program.
Yes, please send us your ideas or questions.
We'll see you next time.